She unwittingly shared her heart with a stranger only to discover he was her millionaire boss. Emma gripped the worn steering wheel of her aging sedan, the familiar weight of exhaustion settling into her bones. Deadlines loomed over her like storm clouds, but there was more at stake than just work. Tyler's laughter echoed in her mind, a sound that could pierce through the overwhelming stress of her graphic design job at the local studio. As she parked and prepared for the charity event, her heart tightened with a blend of hope and dread. She needed this night to be more than just another obligation. She needed a breakthrough, a spark in her stagnant life. Inside the historic venue, the comforting scent of fried chicken wafted through the air, blending with excited chatter. Emma feigned enthusiasm, mingling among familiar faces, but her heart raced with the burden of unfulfilled dreams. The corporate world felt like a brick wall, trapping her creativity while seasoned professionals overlooked her contributions. A flicker of anxiety passed through her as she recalled the endless nights spent juggling designs while Tyler slept, all to prove she wasn't just a single mother living on the edge. Then, her gaze locked onto Jack, a charming stranger leaning casually against the bar. Their conversation unfolded organically, revealing dreams and fears as if they were old friends reconnecting. The spark between them was palpable, bringing a fleeting distraction to her otherwise chaotic reality. But when she returned home that night, the euphoria faded into worry. Who was he? An enchanting phantom in her mundane life, or simply another distraction from her responsibilities? The next day, everything twisted. The moment Emma entered the art studio, she was met with Jack not as a stranger, but as her new boss. An enigmatic millionaire beneath the veneer of a casual and engaging demeanor, Jack's presence only intensified the pressure. Emma's mind spiraled into an internal maelstrom. Would he now see her as a colleague, or was their connection simply a fleeting moment of distraction that would turn into regret? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the weeks that followed, her confidence eroded even further. Jack watched her from the shadows, offering subtle encouragement while the other designers dismissed her ideas. The clattering of keyboards drowned out her racing thoughts shattered by doubt and insecurity. Was she really cut out for this world? Every compliment felt tinged with condescension, every piece she created a reflection of her inadequacy. Emma found herself clawing for validation while feeling like a fraud. How could she save her career when every step felt like walking on eggshells? Just when her sense of hope flickered, a scandal exploded within the studio, shaking its very foundation. Emma's heart raced as the reality of the corporate chaos swept through her like a tsunami. Torn between loyalty to her colleagues, the few who saw her worth, and her burgeoning feelings for Jack, she felt the weight of the world crushing her. Would uncovering the truth jeopardize her career, her only lifeline for Tyler's future? And then the truth hit her. Jack's secrets weren't just his to keep, they bound them in a precarious dance that threatened to swallow her whole. Caught in the crossfire of ambition and trust, Emma's world spiraled deeper into confusion. With every choice now carrying immense consequences, her heartbeat quickened, rising like smoke in the air. As layers of deceit began to peel away, Emma stared into the abyss of the unknown, feeling the pressure close in, and realized she might lose everything: the job, her heart, and the dreams she fought so hard to build for Tyler. What sacrifices would she have to make to save the tangled web of her life? Would love be the anchor she needed, or the storm that would tear her apart? As the dust settled around her, a reckless truth loomed: this was only the beginning. Emma stood by her desk, staring at her latest design project, the monitor's glare highlighting her furrowed brow. Every line, every color seemed too vibrant, too pronounced under her scrutiny. Was this creativity, or was it another manifestation of her insecurity? As she leaned back in her chair, the sound of Jack's footsteps echoed in the hallway, and a wave of uncertainty washed over her. He was no longer just a charming stranger, He was her employer, holding the reins to her career and her future. During meetings, Emma fought hard to maintain her composure. Jack's encouraging nods only added to her internal conflict. There was a line now, an invisible barrier between professional respect and personal connection. In a heated discussion about a new client campaign, she had taken the plunge to voice her thoughts, only to be met with silence from her colleagues and a wry smile from Jack. Had Jack genuinely appreciated her input, or was he merely trying to be supportive of an employee with potential? The ambiguity gnawed at her. Days turned into relentless weeks, each one punctuated by the roller coaster of corporate chaos. When rumors of layoffs spread through the studio, the tension radiated in every cubicle. Emma began to doubt not just her position but her capabilities. Was she even worthy of the role she fought so hard to secure? Late one night, while the studio lay deserted and shrouded in shadows, Emma sought solace in her sketches. Her pencil glided across the page while visions of her designs fought to find their way out. There, in the quiet darkness, she rediscovered a flicker of her original passion, the limitless potential of her creativity. As she injected more colors and bold forms onto the paper, a memory of her earlier self surged within her, a self-assured, driven, and passionate artist who believed in her talents despite the odds. With newfound clarity from her artistic endeavor, she resolved to confront the whispers of inadequacy festering inside her. The next day, with her heart thundering and palms slightly damp, she approached Jack after the morning briefing. Their colleagues filed out of the room, but she lingered, an unyielding determination fueling her thoughts. "Jack," she started, her voice steady yet laced with vulnerability. "I've been thinking about how I can contribute to the team more effectively. I want to bring my ideas to the table without feeling like I'm intruding." His eyes widened slightly, though he maintained his poised demeanor. "I'm glad to hear that, Emma. What do you have in mind?" As they discussed her ideas, something inside her shifted. Through the course of their conversation, she realized that the dread clinging to her didn't solely revolve around Jack's role as her superior. It was about how she saw herself in this high-stakes environment. It was about reclaiming her identity as a designer and a mother. By articulating her vision, she began to stitch together the frayed edges of her confidence, yet, even as her spirit reignited, doubts crept back in when Jack confided about the turmoil within the studio related to his own management struggles. The complexities of running a business weighed heavy on him, revealing a side that demystified the confident facade she had initially projected onto him. As her empathy for him grew, a new layer of complexity emerged in her feelings toward Jack. They were both navigating stormy waters, albeit on different vessels. Their connection was deeper now, tangled with an understanding of vulnerabilities that exceeded anything she'd anticipated, but while they forged a tentative alliance forged in ambition and struggle, Emma grappled with the unsettling truth: could she uphold her own ambition without losing herself in this maze of emotions? As she found comfort in the uncharted territory of her feelings, the reality settled in. Clarity came at a cost. She had to decide what her heart was willing to risk, and what boundaries she would need to uphold to protect Tyler and her creativity. With the tension mounting, her next steps were crucial. Would she embrace the unknown, or retreat into the safety of her insecurities? Determined yet anxious, she braced herself for the time when she would need to confront the implications of her choices. The moment of truth was looming, and everything she had fought for would rest on her next decision. As Emma left Jack's office, a whirlwind of emotions washed over her. The conversation had been invigorating, but it left her threadbare, glimpsing both the potential for growth and the chasm of uncertainty that yawned before her. She took a deep breath, grounding herself. It was time to forge ahead, yet the echoes of that interaction reverberated in her mind. Had she truly communicated her passion, or merely laid bare her insecurities? That afternoon, she found herself at her desk, struggling to focus on the new project that had landed on her plate. The brief lay before her, a smattering of words that felt like a puzzle unsolvable by mere inspiration. Creative blocks weren't new to her, yet this time it felt different. Each stroke she made felt burdened by the weight of expectations, both internal and external. The intermingling of her identity as a designer and a mother loomed overhead, complicating her priorities. Refusing to succumb to the inertia, Emma took a bold step. She pulled out her sketchbook, flipping through the chaotic energy of her designs from the previous night. Those unfiltered expressions of creativity had ignited a flicker of her past joy. She recognized that she had to harness that energy into her current work. It was a challenge she couldn't ignore. The project demanded something raw and original. As the clock ticked down, she found herself tapping into those dormant instincts, crafting a concept that felt undeniably her own. The lines poured forth, morphing into a cohesive idea underscored by her unique voice. The act of creation became a catharsis. Her anxieties began to dissipate with each stroke of the pencil. It didn't erase the fear, but it empowered her to nurture and embrace the vulnerability rather than shunning it. Suddenly, a sharp knock on her cubicle interrupted her flow. It was Jack, standing there with a curious smile. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked, stepping closer to her desk. Heart pounding, Emma instinctively shielded her sketches. Yet in that moment, a realization struck her: hiding her art wouldn't lead to growth. "Sure," she replied, exposing her work with cautious pride. Jack's brow furrowed as he examined her designs, and she felt the familiar chill of vulnerability wrap around her neck. But this time, she stood firm. He looked up, genuine intrigue lighting his expression. "This is strong, Emma. You've really brought your vision to life," he praised. The sincerity in his tone ignited a warmth inside her, a validation she hadn't anticipated. They spent the next several minutes immersed in a discussion that felt electric, exchanging ideas and building upon one another's thoughts. Emma realized that this synergy was what had fed her success in the past. She was collaborating, not just a cog in a corporate machine. Each constructive criticism Jack offered reinforced her belief in what she could contribute, not just to the project but also to the studio as a whole. But as they drew to a close, the underlying tension flickered back. The synchronicity they shared felt exhilarating, yet Emma couldn't ignore the poignant dance of emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. Was their dynamic merely professional, or was there a deeper connection simmering below their exchanges? She parted from Jack with renewed vigor, but thoughts of him lingered. The vulnerability she had shown felt like both a beacon of strength and a potential pitfall. How would this developing relationship impact her role, her creativity, and the balance she strived to maintain with her family? And so came the inevitable question: could she hold on to her burgeoning confidence while navigating the complexities of this bond with her boss? Just as she resolved to find that balance, an email notification blinked on her screen. Opening it, her pulse quickened as she read the subject line: "Urgent, staff meeting tomorrow, important changes ahead." The moment of truth was approaching, and the stakes felt higher than ever. What challenges awaited her, and how would they reshape her future in this fragile web of empowerment and uncertainty? Emma sat at her desk, her mind racing with a mixture of anticipation and dread as the clock edged toward the appointed hour. The email about the urgent staff meeting had gnawed at her all night, disrupting her sleep and filling her with a sense of foreboding. This wasn't just any meeting. It felt like the company's harbinger of transformation, and she couldn't shake the feeling that her career, possibly her very life, was about to take a sharp turn. She glanced around the office, noting how the atmosphere had shifted. Colleagues whispered, their expressions a blend of curiosity and anxiety. Emma recognized that she wasn't alone in her apprehension. Yet, amid the tumult, the prospect of her recent discussions with Jack offered a thread of hope. Their exchange had flickered with potential, a spark that pushed her to reclaim her creative power. As she made her way to the conference room, she rehearsed the key elements of her project in her mind. But now it was not just about her designs, it was about her place in the landscape of the firm, her future, and the choices she would make. The weight of it all pressed on her, but instead of shrinking back, she inhaled deeply, drawing strength from the very seat of uncertainty. Settling into one of the chairs around the long, polished table, Emma noticed Jack slip into the room. For an instant, their eyes locked, an electric connection underpinned by unspoken words. He took his place at the head of the table, ready to steer the meeting with authority yet tempered by an underlying kindness she had witnessed before. "Everyone, thank you for coming on such short notice," Jack began, projecting confidence. "Today, we'll review some structural changes to enhance our team dynamics and overall creativity." Emma's heart quickened. What did that mean for her? The team dynamics had always been a delicate dance, and a shift could either uplift or unravel the fragile rapport built over years. She forced herself to concentrate on Jack's words, tuning her fears to the background. As he detailed upcoming initiatives, new leadership roles, shifts in project ownership, Emma felt a mix of excitement and apprehension swell within her. When he explained the shift toward a more collaborative approach, revitalizing how teams might work together, she envisioned herself stepping boldly into this new arena. Perhaps this was her opportunity to seize the moment, to showcase her leadership. With her heart pounding, Emma decided to speak up when the floor opened for questions. Jack, how do you see the role of creativity changing under this new structure? I believe it's crucial that our unique voices are not only heard but amplified. Surprise flashed across some faces, including Jack's, but he nodded appreciatively. That's an excellent point, Emma. The aim is to foster an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute their ideas. Energized by Jack's affirmation, she felt the stirrings of her earlier joy returning. Invoking her authentic voice felt necessary. She continued, old structures sometimes stifle creativity. I think embracing our distinct styles can lead to tremendous innovation. As she spoke, she noticed Jack's gaze intensify, a flicker of something unnameable passing between them. This was not just a professional exchange, it was a recognition of something deeper, an understanding that their collaboration could extend beyond the confines of this meeting. Yet beneath her exhilaration loomed unease. Would this new environment elevate her or become yet another battleground? With her internal conflict surfacing, she knew that navigating these waters required more than just passion. It required clarity of purpose and a willingness to confront the looming challenges. As Jack wrapped up the meeting, a sense of urgency clung in the air like humidity before a storm. Emma had waded into uncharted territory, and while decisions lay on the horizon, she contemplated a choice that could alter her relationship with Jack both personally and professionally. Could she sustain this momentum? Or would the very passions she nurtured lead her down a path fraught with complication? Just as she left the conference room, she stumbled upon a figure from her past, the company's former head of design, a legend, and a potential challenger who had abruptly departed. Her heart dropped. What did it mean for her now, and how would it affect her dreams in this precarious dance of ambition? Emma's heart raced as she faced the familiar yet unwelcome figure standing near the exit. Judith, the former head of design, radiated a commanding presence, her confidence palpable. Emma had admired her from afar, the very definition of brilliance in the design world, brilliant yet intimidating. What would it mean to engage with someone who had once held her career ambitions in the palm of her hand? Judith's eyes narrowed slightly, scrutinizing Emma as if weighing her worth. Emma, isn't it? Judith asked with feigned casualness, though the tone held an edge. I hear there are exciting changes on the horizon. Ready to step up? The question struck Emma like an unexpected blow. How did Judith always manage to make her feel so small? Emma steadied herself, drawing on the resolve she had discovered within during the meeting. Absolutely. It's time for fresh ideas and collaboration. Judith's lips curled into a slight smirk, a mixture of amusement and skepticism evident on her face. Collaboration, It's a nice idea, but it's hard to foster when egos are involved. Let us hope your team can master it. Emma wanted to retort, to defend the very faith she had in her ideas and her colleagues, but instead, she calmed her racing thoughts. Each word from Judith felt like a challenge that could threaten her burgeoning sense of self. What was she really willing to risk here? I believe in the strengths of everyone on our team, Emma said, forcing a level of confidence into her voice that she didn't entirely feel. It's about amplifying those strengths, not stifling them. Judith raised an eyebrow, scanning Emma's face as if searching for signs of weakness. That's the enthusiasm I like to see. Just remember, in this industry, boldness can lead to breakthroughs or hubris. As Judith walked away, Emma felt a swell of defiance well up inside her. She couldn't let this encounter shake her newfound confidence or her vision for the project ahead. The doubt Judith attempted to sow would not take root. she had emerged from that meeting renewed. Returning to her desk, Emma pulled up her project plan. She felt the familiar rush of creativity coursing through her veins, but now it bore the weight of her professional aspirations alongside visceral fears. Ideas began to emerge, striking concepts on how to present the team's work in a way that could challenge the company's current stagnation. This was not just about her anymore, it was about everyone and the potential she believed they could unleash together. Over the next hour, she poured herself into her work, mapping out a plan that could highlight each member's creativity and elevate the team. She started outlining cross-departmental collaborations, brainstorming sessions, and shared presentations. Emma knew that demonstrating the value of collaboration would not just be her challenge but her opportunity, yet, moments of doubt crept in. What if the structure Judith once upheld still lingered in the shadows, thwarting change? What if Jack's faith in her leadership turned into disappointment? But with each passing thought, she resisted the urge to falter. She had seen where focusing solely on fear led her in the past. Now was the time to challenge herself, to grow beyond her hesitation. Determined, she drafted an email to Jack, proposing a team brainstorming session to kick off the new structure. She hit send, her heart pounding as she realized this step could define her role moving forward. Emma stared at the screen, holding her breath, unsure if she was ready for the answers that would come next. Examining her reflection in the window, she knew it was not just about pushing ideas but also about establishing her presence in a space that previously felt alien to her. She was done being a passive observer. But as the minutes dragged, the nagging thought returned. Judith was still there, a persistent shadow that reminded her that the past could loom large over the present. Would she genuinely transcend that past? The next moment was vital. A notification pinged in her inbox. It was Jack's response. Heart racing, she opened it, anxiety and hope mixing within her. What awaited her could propel or crush her ambition. With trembling fingers, she read, "Let us talk more about your ideas. I sense there is something unique brewing here. Meet me in my office." Emma's breath caught. This was no ordinary opportunity, it was a pivotal moment. Could she navigate this new path, risking her heart and ambitions alongside her creative spirit? As she pondered the weight of her choice, determination surged within her. She would embrace this challenge, but just as she stepped into her resolve, her phone buzzed again, and the screen flashed a name that made the ground beneath her feel unstable. It was Judith's face staring back through a collaborative project invitation. The direction of this meeting might reshape everything. Emma's stomach churned. Was she stepping into danger, or was it a door to greater achievement? This was only the beginning, but one thing was certain: a storm was brewing, and Emma was right in its eye. Emma paced the small confines of her office, a wave of anticipation mingling with anxiety. With a deep breath, she opened Judith's invitation. It was for a collaborative project meeting set to launch a campaign that could revitalize the entire branding strategy. The details felt overwhelming. Would she be expected to contribute, or merely observe? Her instincts screamed that Judith was rarely slow to seize control. The prospect stirred a new wave of doubt. If she engaged in this project, would it dilute her own vision or offer a platform for her to assert her leadership? Emma wrestled with the implications. This wasn't just about branding, it was about her credibility and the efficacy of her leadership. Slipping her phone into her pocket, she made her way toward Jack's office, her heart thumping with each step. Was she prepared for this conversation? Would he challenge her ideas, or would he fuel her ambitions? The contemplations consumed her mind as she pushed the door open, standing at the threshold of a moment that could redefine her career trajectory. Jack greeted her with a warm smile that eased some of her worries. "Emma. I'm glad you could make it." He gestured toward the seat across from him. "I've been looking forward to discussing your ideas on the upcoming project. It seems like you're onto something powerful." His acknowledgement sent a rush of warmth through her. Emma took a seat, her pulse steadying slightly. "Thanks, Jack. I truly believe this is an opportunity to highlight our team's collective strengths while bringing fresh perspectives to our work." He leaned forward, eyes focused. "Exactly. I want to hear how you envision that," especially after your meeting just now. I could sense a shift in you." Emma hesitated. What if discussing Judith now would undercut her own triumph? "Well, I see potential for creativity and collaboration to flourish. We need to break down silos, invite diverse inputs, and create a unified front." Jack nodded, encouraging her to elaborate. "That's smart. It could set a precedent. But tell me, what challenges do you foresee? I want to ensure we're clear on how to navigate potential roadblocks, especially with Judith's strong influence in the company." The mention of Judith felt like ice water splashed on her enthusiasm. Would fear of Judith's opinions cloud the team's ability to embrace a new approach? "I think Judith has a distinct vision," Emma began cautiously. "However, this could be our chance to prove that a more collaborative environment can yield innovative results." Jack studied her closely, a mixture of intrigue and caution etched on his features. "Right, but it's crucial that we bring Judith on board. I want you to lead that collaboration. Can you handle it?" His trust felt like a double-edged sword. "I believe I can." She paused, unsure. Just as she felt her confidence beginning to solidify, a flood of trepidation rushed over her. Judith would not easily relinquish power. "Excellent," Jack leaned back, satisfied, but there was an undercurrent of challenge in his gaze. "But you must remember, leading is as much about tact as it is about vision. Show them what you can do, but be prepared for resistance. You need to be ready to defend your ideas with conviction." As Emma absorbed his words, she felt the weight of expectation settle on her shoulders like a mantle. The mix of her personal and professional identity was no longer an abstract notion, it was staring her in the face, demanding recognition and action. Jack stood, signaling the end of their meeting. "I believe in what you bring to the table, Emma. Be bold. I'm counting on you." His grin was encouraging, but the implication of his words raced through her mind. Being bold meant stepping into the fray, which meant facing Judith head-on, perhaps even risking her earlier resolve. Just as she exited the office, her phone buzzed. Another message from Judith, one that hinted at the very complexities Emma feared. "Looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. I have some insights to share that I believe will be helpful for our upcoming collaboration." Emma felt the walls constricting around her with each word. Judith's stakes in the game couldn't be dismissed. She was a seasoned player, seasoned in nullifying competition. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she allow Judith to dictate the course of her aspirations? In that moment, Emma resolved to welcome the impending conflict. She would seize the opportunity to assert her influence, even under the looming shadow of Judith. Tomorrow would not just be a continuation of her journey, it would be the moment she needed to confront her fears directly. But as she contemplated the battle ahead, uncertainty swept through her. Was she ready for the storm that Judith would undoubtedly bring with her insights? The tension thickened. The outcome of that meeting could alter everything, and Emma couldn't ignore that the time had come to face the ruthless nature of ambition head-on. Could she harness the chaotic energy of this new collaboration, or would it consume her? Emma's heart raced as she braced herself for the confrontation that awaited. The fluorescent lights flickered as Emma stepped into the meeting room, her pulse quickening in response to the palpable tension thickening the air. Judith was already seated, her presence commanding as she flipped through a portfolio of designs with an air of confidence that both intrigued and intimidated Emma. This was Emma's opportunity to carve a space for her ideas and justify her place at the table. Sitting down, she couldn't help but analyze Judith's posture. The way she casually leaned back in her chair, a slight smile playing on her lips, suggested she was used to holding court. Did she sense Emma's anxiety? Did she see a challenger, or merely another cog in her finely tuned machine? "Good morning, Emma," Judith greeted, not looking up from her documents. "I hope you're prepared to present your vision today because I have quite a few ideas of my own that I'm eager to share." A lump formed in Emma's throat. "Absolutely, Judith. I think we have an exciting opportunity to collaborate and leverage our strengths as a team." Judith finally raised her eyes, searching Emma's and weighing her conviction. "Teamwork is ideal, but we also need clear direction. Tell me, What areas do you believe are essential for focus? Emma inhaled deeply. This was the moment to assert herself, to strike a balance between deference and authority. I propose we centralize our campaign around the essence of our brand's core values while also integrating user-generated content to foster community engagement. It can enhance authenticity. Judith's eyebrows arched slightly, a bare flicker of interest amid an otherwise impassive demeanor. Interesting approach, however, we must ensure that our messaging remains aligned with brand perception. I wouldn't want to confuse our audience. Emma felt the subtle challenge behind those words. Confidence surged within her. That's precisely why including diverse voices will not only align but enrich our narrative. Engaging with our audience allows us to harness their perspectives, which can invigorate the brand. Judith stiffened. While I admire your enthusiasm, remember our current market position. We can't simply deviate from established templates without significant analysis. The room felt charged with a kind of electric friction as Emma wrestled with the need to validate her vision and defend against Judith's skepticism. But isn't this project about evolution? A chance to refine our narrative and adapt it to current consumer expectations? It calls for calculated risks, and I'm ready to articulate those strategies. Judith continued to scrutinize her, a storm of emotions brewing behind her composed exterior. Calculated risks can be beneficial, but they must be backed by data, she replied, choosing her words carefully. Let's make sure our collaboration remains grounded. Emma's heart raced. Judith's guarded nature felt like an initial invitation into a battle of wills. Hadn't Jack encouraged her to bring bold ideas to the forefront? How could she do that if Judith kept her tethered to the status quo? As the discussion wore on, Emma became acutely aware of her growing sense of purpose. With every point she defended, she felt solidifying resolve cutting through her fears. She was not merely an observer today. She was a contender, ready to engage, yet, the exchange with Judith felt like engaging a formidable wall, one that had been entrenched over years in corporate strategy and unyielding tradition. Despite the intensity of the moment, Emma felt a strange flicker of excitement. She was finally pushing herself, testing her limits. Let's set some metrics for success then, Judith stated, her tone shifting slightly, no longer purely dismissive. I suppose awakening brand perception will require a detailed plan. You do have one lined up. Emma's eyes brightened with renewed energy. Yes, I suggest we start by assessing market data over the last quarter and incorporate qualitative feedback from our audience. Well, it appears you are somewhat prepared, Judith said, a reluctant trace of approval in her voice. The tiniest hint of willingness to collaborate emerged, igniting a spark in Emma. This was about more than mere strategy. This was about redefining her presence in the company. As the meeting drew to a close, Emma couldn't shake off the blend of exhilaration and trepidation. She had taken the first steps toward asserting her vision, but Judith's walls were far from toppled. Tomorrow would usher in new challenges, but Emma felt alive with determination. Could she maintain her newfound resolve even as resistance lurked just beneath Judith's polished facade? An unshakable confidence began to take root within her. Unbeknownst to her, the unfolding dynamics between her and Judith would extend far beyond the meeting room, a battle not just for ideas, but for influence and recognition in a field dominated by cynicism and tradition, where the stakes climbed higher with each passing moment. With each challenge rendered in vivid clarity, Emma questioned as she left the room, was she ready to navigate the intricate labyrinth of professional ambition? As the first rays of dawn broke through the office's tinted windows, Emma arrived with a cocktail of anxiety and resolve swirling within her. The meeting with Judith yesterday echoed in her mind, every challenge still vibrant like colors on a painter's palette. Today, she would dive deeper, and the undercurrents of both fear and opportunity urged her forward. Plopping her bag on her desk, she glanced at the wall covered with team goals and projects. Each poster seemed to shout the company's aspirations, yet Emma felt a simmering urge to rewrite that narrative. To her, it wasn't merely about following the corporate playbook anymore, it was about challenging its constraints and painting a broader stroke of creativity on a blank canvas. with her laptop open and the flicker of the screen illuminating her determined gaze, she began outlining her proposed campaign strategy. She focused on the integration of user-generated content, meticulously carving out sections for data analysis and metrics. Yet, mixed in with her strategic intentions was an undercurrent of uncertainty. Could she really bring this vision to life? Would her ideas withstand Judith's scrutiny? Emma spent considerable time researching recent market shifts and analyzing user engagement trends, her mind racing with possibilities. Each statistic fueled her passion, solidifying her belief in the power of collaborative narratives. She felt her understanding deepening, not merely as a marketer, but as a voice intended to resonate with consumers. By mid-morning, she approached Jack, her colleague, who leaned over his own work with a distracted look. "Hey, can we chat about the campaign strategy? I'd like your feedback on some ideas," she said, her voice steady. She needed the reassurance of another's perspective. "Sure," he replied, straightening up and giving her his full attention. Jack enjoyed collaborating, and Emma sensed his genuine interest. She laid out thought after thought, illustrating her vision with fervor. As she spoke, she couldn't help but notice how her own words sparked excitement within her. She saw herself, not as the shadow of Judith but as a forward-thinking innovator shaping new directions. "Emma, this is bold," Jack finally said, leaning back in his chair. "You're willing to challenge the norm. Just make sure you prepare for the potential pushback." His words struck a chord, ringing with truth. The context of Emma's ambitions became sharper, crystallizing in her mind. The corporate landscape could be impenetrable, but it was also ripe for revolution. Could she bear the critique without letting it dull her vision? "This is my opportunity not just for a change in strategy, but a change in perception," she mused, her excitement tinged with an edge of trepidation. As the clock ticked toward the afternoon meeting with Judith, Emma rehearsed her points. She envisioned Judith's face, steeled with skepticism, as Emma outlined each facet of her proposal, debating between steering the conversation and anticipating the challenges she might face. Engaging with Judith was less about winning an argument and more about sparking a new dialogue. An intricate dance, one that required both poise and tenacity. Directly before the meeting, Emma took a deep breath in the reflective glass of the conference room door. She examined her reflection, serious yet passionate. Today was not merely about results, it was about embodying her vision with authentic courage. The meeting commenced with the usual agendas, but Emma felt her heart quicken when her turn arrived. She stood, notes in hand but driven by something deeper, a fierce desire to not only advocate for change but to embody it. Judith's piercing gaze fixed on her, evaluation palpable in the air. "So, Emma, what have you prepared?" As Emma poised herself to speak, she recognized she wasn't entering this exchange as a novice anymore. She understood the stakes, prepared for both confrontation and collaboration, ready to carve her place with calculated grace. Was she truly ready for what lay ahead, the precarious balance of innovation and tradition? The answer lingered, hovering in the air, begging her to confront the truth that awaited her. The moment hung heavy. She had arrived at a crossroads of potential. Would she break through Judith's defenses, or would the unyielding walls of corporate tradition stifle her progress once more? Emma felt the weight of silence envelop her as she stood before Judith and her colleagues, poised between vulnerability and resolve. This was the crucible of her intentions, where the pressure of expectation threatened to extinguish her budding fire. But she was ready. She had practiced her lines, had visualized this moment endlessly, and beneath the polished veneer of anxiety, her determination shone brightly. "Judith," she began, her voice steady but resonating with fervor, "I believe our next campaign should emphasize user-generated content. It not only engages our audience but also builds a community around our brand." Here's how. As she spoke, she drew upon each spark she had ignited in her research, threading the narrative together with precision. Metrics flashed before her eyes, engagement rates climbing as she emphasized the need for authenticity in storytelling. She noticed her colleagues' expressions shift from skepticism to intrigue, yet Judith's demeanor remained inscrutable, a stone wall that made Emma's pulse quicken. "Interesting points, Emma," Judith interjected, each word calculated. "But what makes you think our audience is ready to be so involved?" Isn't that rather risky? The question landed heavily, an immediate challenge to the foundation Emma sought to build. She sensed the room's collective breath catch, all eyes narrowing in on her reaction. In that fleeting moment, doubt slithered through her thoughts. But she had come too far to falter now. I understand the concerns, Judith, she replied, leaning into her conviction. But consumer behavior is shifting. Brands that fail to adapt risk losing connection with their audience. We must embrace our customers as stakeholders in this journey. After all, they define our narrative. Judith appeared unimpressed, yet she tilted her head slightly as if considering Emma's words. A flicker of interest crossed her features, and for the first time, the ice appeared to crack. Encouraged, Emma pressed on, backed by her research and the unwavering belief that this campaign could redefine their brand's essence. The conversation flowed, both an argument and a symphony. Other team members began to chime in, some backing Emma's initiative while others clung to the safety of tradition. Each contribution further ignited Emma's passion, honing her arguments in real time, even as she kept a watchful eye on Judith's expression. Emma, let us say we agree with you, Judith finally offered, her tone a mixture of curiosity and challenge. What about the potential backlash? What if the content we curate tarnishes our image? That question hung heavily before Emma, a moment of reckoning. Critics could destroy an idea she believed in, but she had already acknowledged that risk. Good branding is about strategy, Emma said, her frame emanating confidence. We can curate, filter, and frame what we share. It's about collaboration, yes, but we take charge of the narrative every step of the way. She watched Judith closely, her heart racing as she spoke. Would her words land softly, or would Judith wield the critique that could crumble Emma's vision? Judith's brows furrowed, and it seemed as if Emma's words had turned into echoes of challenge, reverberating off the walls infused with corporate history. All right, Emma. I'll give you a chance, but I expect a detailed plan by next week, Judith finally declared, her tone muted yet commanding. Emma's breath caught in her throat, a whirlwind of triumph and trepidation swirling within her. She had not only presented her ideas but had ignited a fire of possibility within herself. Until that moment, she had been carrying a weight of hesitation, but now it felt released, emboldening her resolve. As the meeting adjourned, Emma caught Jack's eye, and a smile sparked between them, an unspoken understanding that this was merely the beginning. Yet, uncertainty lingered in the depths of her mind. How would she execute this plan amid looming pressures from her colleagues and, more importantly, Judith? The intensity of her ambition now felt colliding with the reality of potential setbacks. And then, echoing in her thoughts, she heard Judith's pointed words again, I expect a detailed plan. What if this was more than just a chance for a campaign? What if it was a chance to reshape her career, but at what cost? As she packed up to leave the meeting room, Emma felt both the thrill of momentum and the weight of ever-multiplying expectations settle over her shoulders. The delicate ballet between ambition and fear returned, more intense than ever. The road ahead twisted with uncertainty, but the only way to find out what awaited her was to venture forth. Where would the jagged path of innovation lead her? Would she embrace it, daring to reshape her entire professional identity, or risk falling back under the specter of corporate conformity? The choice was now hers, and the stakes were rising in ways she had yet to comprehend. Emma stood at the threshold of her office, the fading echoes of the meeting with Judith still ringing in her ears. The assignment was daunting yet exhilarating. She had been tasked with developing a comprehensive campaign strategy that not only highlighted her vision but also resonated with the team and clients alike. The walls that once seemed to close in around her now felt like a canvas, ready to be painted with her ideas. Determined, Emma dove into research, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she collected data, market trends, and insights. The anxiety that had once engulfed her transformed into a laser-like focus. Each statistic fed her drive, while a sense of clarity emerged. This project was her opportunity to assert her voice, a chance to claim her place not just as an employee, but as a leader capable of steering the firm's creative course. Time passed swiftly, and as days rolled into nights, Emma crafted her proposal. She integrated user-generated content, championed collaborative branding, and illustrated the evolving relationship between brand and consumer. With each revision, her confidence blossomed like spring after a long winter. Discussions with Jack fueled her ambitions as he continued to offer encouragement, validating her efforts and insights. Their professional rapport deepened, intertwining their ambitions in ways she hadn't anticipated. The day of the presentation arrived, and Emma stepped into the conference room, her pulse a steady rhythm of excitement rather than anxiety. Judith sat at the head of the table, flanked by members of the design team. They were all there, waiting for her to unveil what she had crafted with unwavering dedication. "Good morning, everyone," Emma began, her voice infused with newfound strength. "Today, I'm thrilled to share our strategy for amplifying our brand through innovative engagement." Her presentation unfolded seamlessly. Each slide illustrated her vision, drawing nods of agreement and ripples of excitement. She watched as Judith's expression shifted, curiosity replacing skepticism. The interaction transformed the atmosphere. Emma's ideas ignited conversations rather than critiques, weaving a tapestry of collaborative spirit that filled the room. "Your approach to user-generated content really shifts the paradigm," one colleague remarked. "This could engage our audience in unprecedented ways." Judith, visibly impressed, leaned back in her chair, a contemplative look settling on her features. "I believe you've thoughtfully considered all elements, Emma. The market is changing, and your strategy could lead us forward." In that moment, Emma felt a mix of disbelief and elation surge within her. She had not only articulated her vision, but she had also convinced them to embrace it. As the meeting wrapped up, Judith turned to Emma, her voice revealing a glimpse of respect. "Let us move forward with this. We'll implement your plan starting next month." Those words resonated deeply. The acknowledgement dispelled the shadows of doubt lingering in Emma's heart. She felt an immense weight lift, replaced by a sense of belonging. This was her achievement, the recognition she had fought so hard to attain. With the groundwork laid, Emma stepped into her role as a team leader. The campaign unfolded with momentum, each new idea and collaboration contributing to the project's success. Feedback flooded in, and the excitement permeated the studio. As her confidence solidified, so did her resolve to create an environment where others felt empowered to share their voices and ideas. During a review session, Emma caught Jack's eye, pride evident in his supportive grin. The synergy between them evolved into a partnership defined by shared passion and mutual respect. He knew she was not just another designer. Emma had proven herself a visionary. Time continued to pass, and soon the campaign was rolled out, revealing seeds of innovation blossoming across their consumer base, uplifting the brand's identity in ways previously unimagined. Applause followed, accolades about the campaign's success reached their peak, and recognition poured in from upper management, solidifying Emma's newfound status as a cornerstone of the team. Emma found herself standing at the balcony outside her office, gazing at the bustling city below. The struggles, self-doubt, and moments of uncertainty felt like mere stepping stones in her journey. She had not only embraced her creativity, but had also broken through the barriers that once restricted her. Her efforts had flourished, evolving into a solid foundation upon which her career could thrive. No longer haunted by insecurities, Emma was now proud to be authentic in her role, a force to be reckoned with in her professional landscape. The achievements she had unlocked were tangible evidence of her growth and resilience, a reflection of a woman who had dared to embark on a journey of self-discovery and reclamation. The moment of realization dawned within her. This was more than just a career milestone, this was personal transformation. Emma smiled into the horizon, content in her identity as a designer, a leader, and most importantly, a creative force in her own story. Embrace your story, and make your dreams a reality. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters, and it really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. You need to share your thoughts with us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support for personal overcoming stories.